Hello, welcome to another episode of the Libyan Insider. I'm your host, Abdulazim Al-Jhani. Libya is stuck in a political stalemate between different bodies wrestling for power. The country's west and east governments are divided. The current political climate is more complicated than it has ever been since the toppling of Gaddafi 12 years ago. Libyans hope for fair and transparent elections that will allow them to pick who they see fit to lead their country. But this dream has so far eluded them. So who is blocking the way to fair elections in Libya? Are the United Nations and the various foreign powers involved in Libya helping the process or making it more difficult? To get more context on this and more, I'm joined by the former advisor to the High Council of State and political commentator, Mr. Salah ElBakkoush. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Salah.
Thank you.
As I said, the political situation in Libya is very complicated, and the UN commissioner to Libya, Abdullah Bateli, has an idea of bringing the different bodies. He said 5 bodies in one table, trying to get passed through these election laws. If you can, I think it's good to start with a bit of context for our listeners. Who are these 5 bodies? Who is in the scene at the moment in Libya politically?
Well, I think it would be beneficial to go back a little bit further. In 2011, we had a revolution, and we were supposed to go through a transitional period of maybe a year or 2 or 3. We're now entering our 12th year. We formed 13 governments. There are 13 people in Libya who can put credibly on their resumes that they were prime ministers of Libya during these 12 years. We had 2 political agreements. One is Khairat, Morocco in 2015, and one in Geneva in 2021. Both agreements were supposed to lead to a new constitution and a permanent settlement of the conflict within a couple of years. Nothing happened. We formed a government in 2015 in Morocco, and it was supposed to go on for 1 year, and it could be extended automatically for another year and lead to a constitution and a new final status government. Nothing happened. Within a year it collapsed, and a parallel government was created by the House of Representatives, which is based in the East. Same thing happened in 2021. We formed a new government. We agreed to it. The House of Representatives gave it a confidence vote by 132 to 2 abstentions, and it was supposed to lead to elections on December 24th, 2021.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. A new parallel government was created within a year, and the government of national unity could not go into Benghazi because Haftar prevented it from going to Benghazi. So right now, Mr. Bateli, the special representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations, have come up with this idea that there are 5 parties in Libya that can put together a solution. Some of us think that these 5 parties will not come up with a solution. As a matter of fact, we think these people, these 5 parties, are the cause of the problem, and they will lead to more problems, not a solution. These 5 parties that Mr. Bateli is now betting on are Khalifa Haftar, a warlord from the east, which takes on the title of the field marshal of the Libyan Arab army, supported by Egypt and the Emirates and so on, and the House of Representatives in the East. That's one party. The second is the House of Representatives, which is based in the east and allied with Haftar and Egypt. The third is the Presidential Council, which was created in 2021 by the Geneva Agreement, and it's composed of three people, it's a three-headed council. That's the third party. The fourth party is the High Council of State, HCS, headed by Mr. Mohammed Takala, which was the product of the Skhirat agreement in Morocco in 2015. And the fifth is the Government of National Unity headed by Mr. Dbeiba. That's what Bethel is betting on these five to come up with a solution to the problem of unimplementable election laws that the House of Representatives came up with, and also settle the issue of a government that will oversee the elections. That's the situation now. The five parties are putting some conditions on their attendance of this conference, and Bethel is trying to push through his idea, and everybody is at a standstill waiting for these parties to convene and hopefully come up with a solution.
So Dbeiba and the High Councils of State, they are in agreement with Batelli that they need to come together. Putting aside the fact whether this will be successful or not, but their position is that we would be happy to sit with you, but with the condition that we are not removed, that we stay.
That
Dbeiba, I stay as a leader until elections are.
I will only cede power to an elected government.
And the other side put the condition that we will not sit until Dbeiba is removed and a new government is formed that will take on the elections.
Yeah, well, basically, you're correct, but the major condition is that we'll not carry out elections unless you give us a new government.
Why?
Because that's a very good question, and that's the crux of the problem. You see, when you look at these parties, okay, you're basically asking these people to legislate themselves out of the political arena.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do that. New elections mean that the current crop of members of the House of Representatives will be out of a job. Aguila Saleh, the head, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, will be out of a job because they've been in power for 9 years and did nothing. Their mandate was actually 18 months by the interim constitution. Says that the House of Representatives mandate is 18 months and it must not be extended except through a referendum. They've been in power for 9 years without a referendum. They claimed, circumstances have forced us to extend our stay. So that's the House of Representatives. The High Council of State, its members were elected in 2012, and they're still around. Each of the two houses, their members, they get paid like 20 times the average salary in Libya. The High Council of State, if there are new elections, they will be out. They will be legislated out because there is no place in the new form of government, a place for a High Council of State. There will be only a House of Representatives. The third party, the Presidential Council, will be out of a job because the new form of government after the elections does not have any stipulations for a presidential council. So they will be out. Mr. Dbeiba, if there are elections and there's a new parliament, they will form a new government and Mr. Dbeiba will be out of a job. Mr. Haftar, if there is a new government, a new House of Representatives, and a new president, he will be hard-pressed not to fall in line, and he doesn't want that. Mr. Haftar wants to be the top dog, or he's not going to comply. So you see, I mean, why would these five people sit together and go for elections? So what they want to do, leaving Beiba aside, let's just get a new government. We'll divvy up the positions of a new government, and then the elections are going to blow up anyways. But at least we'll continue with a new government that each of us have.
That will work for Haftar or help get Haftar.
Haftar stay in. Aguila Salah of the House of Representatives will stay. The House of Representatives will stay. The High Council of State will stay. The Presidential Council will stay. But they will have had a new government. Each of them.
They tried that with Bashar, didn't they?
They tried that. The House of Representatives tried that, and it didn't work. So now they are coming to talk to the High Council of State.
Yeah. So we can say that Dbeiba also failed by because he was mandated to put on the elections in 2021. So, and if you can tell us why that didn't happen,
that's at least what the argument of the House of Representatives and Haftar. They're blaming Dbeiba, but by law, Dbeiba has nothing to do with elections. Elections are, by law, the sole job of the High Commission for Elections. Dbeiba needs to, as a government, provide the budget and provide the security. In 2021, when the elections collapsed, the commissioner, the head of the election commission, said nothing about money or security. He talked about laws that were deficient and created legal positions that are undefensible. He didn't talk about security, and nobody can provide, there will be no government that can provide security all over Libya while Haftar is here. Yeah. Let me give you an example. On March 10th, 2021, the House of Representatives gave Mr. Dbeiba a vote of confidence by 132 for against 2 abstentions. That should be, unheard of. Such a mandate is almost by acclamation.
Yeah. It's like a vote of no confidence, or it's not the same thing?
No, it's a vote of confidence.
Oh, it's a vote.
He presented his government, president himself, and they approved the government by 132 votes. Okay, against 2 abstentions. Okay, I mean that's a tremendous, unheard of majority. On 28th of April, like 6 weeks later, Haftar prevented Dbeiba, the new government, from entering Benghazi. Yeah. Now, mind you, the House of Representatives that gave Dbeiba the vote of confidence is the House of Representatives that appointed Haftar as commander of its army. Yes. And the House of Representatives didn't come to Haftar and said, hey, what the hell are you doing? We gave this guy a vote of confidence like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, story contradictions. Yeah.
So the question is not who's. It's a myth that we'll create a government that can tell Haftar's thugs or army, he calls it, what to do. He's not going to accept that.
Yeah. And the UN now and the world, basically, are they? Do they even look at the idea of a new government, or are they settled with Dbeiba to take Libya to elections?
No,
is the House of Representatives, is their point of view even looked at seriously?
Yeah, by the Egyptians certainly, by the Jordanians, by the Saudis, somewhat by the Emiratis. The Emiratis don't have much opposition to debate really.
Okay.
He's a known quantity. They've known him for years before even the revolution, because he was a government official for a long time, and his positions are not opposed to fundamentals, to the fundamentals of Emirati positions, which is totally opposed to brotherhood and so on. And Beiba is nowhere near.
I think he helped them by opening up an embassy here in Tripoli.
Yeah, so his relations are not bad.
Yeah.
But the Americans and the Brits know, and other countries know in the West, know that if you give the House of Representatives a government before elections, or at least before putting forth laws that will lead to credible, inclusive elections, you're going to lose it, because you formed 13 governments, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And you never delivered on elections. So why now? Because they gave them a new government. They insisted. HOR insisted in Geneva in 2021 on a new government, under the pretense we need a new government to have elections. And they gave him a new government, the government of national unity of Mr. Beiba. And what happened to the elections? They collapsed. The same thing happened in 2015 with the government of national accord. I mean, we're running out of names in these governments. So really, what's happened now? It's the Haftar, Aguila, and with them the Presidential Council President Mnifi. Now he's joined Aguila. Okay. They're insisting, give us a new government first. And the laws that we passed are untouchable. And the laws are defective.
Electoral laws.
Yeah, the electoral laws. I mean, I asked on TV interviews and so on, I asked the members of the called 6+6 committee.
Yes.
6 from High Council of State and 6 from the Parliament that put together these laws. I said, please explain to me, why is it if I get in the first round as a presidential candidate 99% of the vote, I still have to go into a second round with whoever got 1% of the vote? Please explain it to me. Am I missing something?
So that would work in Haftar's favor, for example. Is that how it's meant to work? Is that why they made it?
Well,
what's the idea behind that?
Well, the idea is that, look,
you reduce the risk of Haftar losing?
Well, you see, yes, it gives Haftar another shot at it.
If he was the 1%.
Yeah, because the field is too deep. There are 98 last time in 2021, 98 candidates.
Yeah.
Okay, but public opinion polls by Diwan Research, which is a respectable institution, showed that there are 3 top candidates: Dbeiba, Haftar, Saif, Gaddafi's son.
So Bashar wasn't in the top.
Bashar garnered 2.5%.
Okay, so he was.
When people were asked if elections were held today, who would you vote for?
Yeah. Okay.
2.5% for Bashar. About the first the first public opinion survey showed that Beba will get over 40% of the vote. Haftar will get about 20% of the vote. Saif will get about 70%. It changed since then, but the three are still there.
Yeah, consistent.
Consistently. So I guess, okay, so the first round Haftar didn't get, but Beba got 50% or 51%. Let's say Beba got 51%. So in every country in the world, he should become the prime minister or the president, okay, but not here. Haftar may have gotten 27%, and Saif may have gotten 17%, and so on. In the second round, maybe he will take all of these votes and pull 1 or 1.5% from Dbeiba and win.
Yeah.
Or, if it didn't happen, he can claim fraud and shut down the elections. And what are we going to do? He shut down the oil, nobody could do anything.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's the election laws that are now made official by HOR, the House of Representatives, and they are adamant about if we agree with Bethel and go to these negotiations, the only thing on the table should be or must be a new government, but not the election laws.
So everybody can see the flaw in this, in what, for example, what you've said about a second stage, even if there was a clear majority in the first stage. So who opposes it? For example, who's made this point from these five, or, from the west of Libya? Who's actually opposed this particular point?
Oh, there are several,
is it
not,
so clear
but not the five. Not the five that are at the table. Dbeiba is saying that I will not allow a new government unless elections were held.
Yeah.
HOR and the Presidential Council and the High Council of State, or some members of the High Council of State, there's a faction in there we can talk about later. They're saying, okay, we accept in principle that we need a new government to oversee the elections. And Beiba saying, no, you don't, because that's what you said in 2021, and you gave me the confidence vote in 2021 to oversee the elections, and you didn't run the elections. Now there are lots of people that think that these are not the people that will do elections for the obvious reasons. There's a conflict of interest. The elections will take them all out. Yeah. All the people, the five that are sitting at the table.
Like Turkey voting for Christmas.
Exactly, Turkey voting for Christmas.
Yeah. So we've mentioned this particular point. Is there other laws in this thing that kind of makes it very problematic, like the dual citizenship, for example?
Putting aside the dual citizenship, or let's take the dual citizenship. The laws allow, the law says that you can't have dual citizenship
as a president.
So you expect that when somebody submits their credentials to run, they will show that they don't have a dual citizenship. Well, the law says, for the first round, it's okay. But we'll check up on you in the second round. So I am not a dual citizen. I run, and I will waste lots of money fighting those who eventually will be disqualified in the second round. Yeah. So why? We don't know. It's because Haftar wants it that way. Haftar doesn't want to relinquish his citizenship, his American citizenship, which he admitted in court in Virginia, in the federal court in Virginia. And we have the papers. We have the submission by his lawyers. admitting that he is an American citizen. You see, Haftar doesn't want elections. And I don't believe that he will relinquish his citizenship unless he's assured of the presidency, why? As you know, the US is not a signatory to the Rome Convention, which created the International Criminal Court. The US will never allow a US citizen to be prosecuted by the International Criminal Court.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You see? So why would he? But if he is president, he can claim, like he tried in the federal court of Virginia, in Alexandria, Virginia, he tried to avoid prosecution by the court there on the basis that he is a head of a country.
And that was rejected, wasn't it?
That was rejected. Okay, it's a stupid argument. Okay, to begin with. But, why not? Throw it at the wall and it may stick. So that's the citizenship thing. And then look at this. In the second round, all you need to do to prove that you don't have a second citizenship is bring me an affidavit to say that you don't have a citizenship, but that's good enough.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but aside from that, the biggest problem, at least pointed out by Onsmil and the Bathelli, is that the laws say if the presidential elections don't pan out, there will be no elections at all. No parliamentary elections, no Senate elections, no nothing. As a matter of fact, in the first round, they're going to run the first round of the presidential elections and the elections for the Senate. At the end of this round, they will announce the results of the first round of the presidential elections, but they are not going to announce the results of the Senate elections. We'll tell you about it later. It's a bizarre, formulation of election laws that we've never seen before.
As if somebody is rigging the rules.
Yeah, it's kind of booby-trapped, so you can blow it up anytime.
Yeah.
But if I blow it up, I will still be ahead because now I have a new government that I created. See, that's the whole trick. Here are election laws, Bathelli, so shut up, okay? And you Libyans, here we have election laws. Now give us, let us create a government to oversee the elections, which I'm gonna blow up later, but now I am ahead of the game. I'm still here, no elections, but I have a new government. I took away the Beiba. So I don't expect to have elections. We were supposed to have elections 2021.
Yeah.
Then they said, no, we'll do it maybe in 2022. No, we'll do it in 2023. No.
There's an idea, even if elections did occur, that no party would be able to, or will, accept defeat anyway. If we look at the situation in the East with Haftar, he has what we would call dictatorship running there. All his pictures on the buildings, would they just disappear if he lost to somebody else? Like he would just pack his bags and say, okay, well, you won, and that's not going to happen. So how could any elections happen? Yeah, so how could elections happen with that?
It's just like death and taxes. Okay, they're gonna happen. Okay, and Haftar is not gonna submit to any legislative, executive, or judicial authority that's not in his hands. He's not. That brings up the point. What's the point of presidential elections? Who said that we have chosen a presidential system? Who said that our legislative system is a two-chamber system, a Senate and a House of Representatives? Who said that we are a federal state so that the president has to be from here, the governor of the central bank has to be from the east, and the head of the accounting authority, or whatever they call it, audit, the government audit agency head has to be from the west, and so on. But these are constitutional principles that are being made without a constitutional process. The constitutional process is the job of the constitutional, what they call it, the CDA, the Constitutional Drafting Assembly, which was elected in 2014 by popular vote. It produced a constitutional draft in 2017. It handed it over to the House of Representatives, which, according to the constitution, the interim constitution, supposed to put it to a referendum. It hasn't done that since 2017. It's sitting in the drawers of Mr. Aguila Salah, the House of Representatives Speaker. And that's why we are going into our 14th or 13th year of transitional phases. I mean, look, since 2012, okay, the February 17th revolution state, which is now like 13 years old, 12 years old, failed to put together a constitution. The Indian constitution is the longest written democratic constitution in the world. It recognizes over 25 languages, and God knows how many religions in India, and how many, sects, and so on and so on. And they succeeded in putting it together in 3 years. We are 7 million people, 99% Sunnis, or 95% Sunnis, Arabs, and 12 years we didn't do anything. The American Constitution is the oldest written democratic constitution in the world. And they did it in like a year or less. And here we are struggling, and we are going into transition. And the question becomes, okay, let's say we gave you a government to oversee the elections, okay, which is basically, nothing. And we held the elections. And the elections went beautifully. And the election law says that the president's term is 4 years, and so is the Senate and the House of Representatives. And then what? What's the Constitution? Mom. You see?
Yeah.
I mean, that's for how long? We're going to go with these permanent transition periods.
So you would obviously then suggest that Dbeiba stays until elections occur. So.
No, I would suggest, first of all, I think presidential elections is a mistake. like you mentioned, there are lots of problems with it. For example, the world was calling, especially the Berlin meetings in 2020 and so on, they produced sort of a roadmap for Libya. And it called for fair, credible, inclusive elections. Now, with the three leading candidates, Haftar, Dbeiba, and Saif, the question becomes, would any of them accept the other if they win? Would the west of Libya, for example, Dbeiba and Saif, accept Haftar as president? I won't.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I will pick up my Kalashnikov.
Yeah.
Would Haftar accept Dbeiba as president? Hell no. Would Saif accept Haftar or Dbeiba as president? Would Dbeiba accept Saif as president? Now the question comes, okay, can Haftar campaign in Tripoli? Can Dbeiba campaign in Benghazi or Sabah? So why are you running presidential elections? And who said that we are a presidential system? So all these questions, nobody answers. They just stuck in presidential elections, and that's it. We have a big problem, and I think we have to insist on parliamentary elections, because unlike presidential elections is a zero-sum game, winner takes all, and as somebody said, in the third world countries, developing countries to be nice, with presidential elections in these countries, either you win or you are in the wilderness. 13 presidents in Africa have changed the constitution to extend their stay. 7 of the oldest serving heads of state in the world are in Africa, with an average stay in power of 30 years or more. The African Union in 2011 put together a committee. It's called High-Level Committee for Libya, to deal with the Libyan conflict in 2011. And they put as president Mr. Mengistu, the president of the Congo. He's still heading the high-level committee. Mr. Mengistu came to power through a military coup. He's a military man. And he's been in power for over 30 years. That's the person assigned the task of solving the Libyan conflict.
Yeah.
So we have to go to parliamentary election, but with specific purpose. Basically, we need sort of copy the Tunisian experiment and elect a constitutional assembly with the purpose of finishing the constitution, and then whatever the constitution says, we'll do the elections and get it over with.
Yeah. In that way, you're protected. Yeah.
Elections, if you want a government, if you insist, okay, let's see what kind of a government we need. But certainly, I don't want to establish a government through agreement between the parties that are supposed to get out of of the political arena, because they will have a stake in its staying forever.
Yeah.
There are other examples of forming what's called a non-partisan government to oversee elections. For example, there's the experiment, the 13th constitutional amendment of the Bangladesh constitution, which stipulates that when elections are upon us, we'll form a non-partisan government. How you form that? By putting together a team from retired Supreme Court justices as caretaker government. Until we finish with the elections, they go and the new government. But if I give HOR, the House of Representatives and the High Council of State and Haftar and Beiba and the Presidential Council an opportunity to create a government, that they will think, well, we have to stick around to enjoy it. I got the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and I got this ministry. I need at least 2-3 years to milk it.
Yeah.
We're gonna fight over ministries just for the period of 4 months. It's a bit confusing, isn't it?
No, it's very, very straightforward that elections to be held like they are planned to will, as you said, probably fail in bringing up what Libyans probably want from the government, from a president.
They want an end to this transition period. At least we have a government, we have institutions that will monitor the government, what it does, what it doesn't do, and so on. We've had it, these transition periods. Corruption, political turmoil, and so on.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how are normal Libyans suffering from this constant transition from one government to another? I mean, is it touching the ordinary person on the street? The fact that they cannot have, an elected government that leads them, or is it?
Well, you see, when it
or is it confined to just the politics?
No, you see. Now, does the ordinary citizen, cognizant of the effects of the political fragmentation on its daily life and the prospects for its kids and future generations, that we don't know. In Libya, we lived 42 years in a system where the government pays everybody a check at the end of the month and asks you to shut up or else. 42 years. So now people are clamoring for increasing my salaries. And we have gotten accustomed to a mindset where what's in it for me? I mean, John Kennedy was famous for his statement during his inauguration, where he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." That we don't have, that concept we don't have. It's what I can get from the government. But the ordinary citizen feels deteriorating health, failing, collapsing health services, collapsing educational system, collapsing public services and infrastructure. And they're starting to feel this. The public opinion polls show clearly their disenchantment with the House of Representatives, with the political elite and the institutions. But as Ghassan Salama said in 2018, these institutions consider elections a threat that must be resisted at all costs. And that's what they are doing.
I want to maybe, I think it's probably time we should maybe conclude, but there's many questions still left, but if elections, or what you advise, elections, parliamentary elections fail to happen, can Libya fall back into a military war, between the two sides to settle it? I mean, is that a possibility in the future?
Look, in Libya, I don't think the western part of Libya has any intention or anything close to that to attack Haftar. Haftar, on the other hand, has no power and doesn't have enough power to attack, to launch another attack, because the West is much more powerful now than it was in 2019, more organized and so on. And basically, people don't want war. Libyans don't want war. In the East, Haftar's forces are declining rapidly, and that's why he's resorting now to naked violence against the population. We saw it in his response to the demonstrations in Derna because of the floods. We saw it in his reaction to ElBakkoush's return to Benghazi, even though there are 30 people with him. And we saw it in his, for example, detention of Salah ElBakkoush, a professor in the university, who was a supporter of his crackdown on Islamists. He was a supporter of Al-Karama, and he was a supporter of Haftar's attack on Tripoli. He's now in jail, incommunicado.
Okay, so he doesn't have the power, and
That's why he's now switched. When we talk about foreign forces leaving, he's no longer talking about all of them leaving. He's talking about withdrawal, a balanced withdrawal, not a complete withdrawal.
Yeah.
That means if I take 100 out from the Russians,
100
you will have to take 1,000 of the Turks.
Yeah.
Because he asked, William Burns has said that William Burns, the director of the CIA, when he visited Haftar a few months ago, he told them to kick out the Russians.
Yeah.
And Haftar retorted, well, can you guarantee me that the Western forces will not attack me?
And what was the reply?
No, right. I don't know. I don't know what a CIA director would say.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, since you brought up the foreign countries, what are their positions on the elections? The Egyptians, the Turks.
The Egyptians don't want. The Egyptians,
although they say they want.
The Egyptians know it's a risky venture. If the elections don't go their way, and it doesn't look like it now, they will lose the political cover of HOR and Aguila, and they will put their policemen in the east, Haftar, under lots of pressure. What's he going to do, Haftar, if a new president is elected that's not Haftar, and the new House of Representatives and Senate that's not a tool in the hands of Haftar? What's Haftar going to do? He will be in a very tight spot, and that's why the Egyptians don't want it.
Okay, and the Turks? Or
I
think
the Turks are with elections. They want a stable government, and I don't think they are threatened with a democratically elected government as the Egyptians are.
And the Russians?
The Russians, they want the situation to stay as is because that's how they can move in Libya and they can use Libya. The fragmentation serves their purposes.
Sorry, it just leads me to another question. I guess the last elections there were maybe gossip, or I don't know if it was true or not, that the Russians favored Saif over Haftar. What's the true alliance here between
They
them?
are more trusting
Of Saif.
of Saif.
I mean, is Saif alive? Is Saif still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Haftar.
Okay.
Yeah, he's alive.
Okay.
Haftar.
Yeah.
For as far as the Russians are concerned, he was and possibly still is a CIA asset.
Okay.
Okay, well, we don't want to say agent, but definitely he was a CIA asset. Okay, they don't trust him. Okay, and he's kind of unpredictable. Saif is a known quantity. They've had long relations with him and his father before him for years. So they would prefer Saif, and they always insist in their speeches at the Security Council on inclusivity, meaning, or translated, Saif has to be.
And that doesn't please Haftar, obviously.
No.
And that has led to crackdowns.
Because Saif will pull from the same electoral
pool yeah.
that Haftar is relying on.
Okay, it's been very, very interesting. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you again on another topic on Libya. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.